There have been so many challenges that this business has faced.
I didn't think we'll be here, quite frankly, 30 years later.
When we started, I didn't think that one day that train is gonna run.
There's a lot of challenges and stress.
We nearly lost the company.
I'm very pleased that we got here. In fact, if you'd asked me this question after 5 years, 93 or 92 even, I wouldn't have thought we ever would make it.
It started way back in Witbank, 1986. He developed an interest in the Witbank Preservation Steam Society.
I got involved, bought them a few coaches as well, and then I thought it might be fun to have a few coaches for my own use, family, etc., as a sort of family caravan.
And didn't really take this one seriously. Thought it was just going to be a hobby.
Then in December 86, the railways in fact gave me permission to run my own train with my own locomotive, which was the big question at the time. And but the tariffs that they came up with were extraordinarily high.
There was always something mechanical he was playing with, whether it be a car, a boat, a plane. So why not a train?
When I complained, they said, well, why don't you sell tickets? And that was the turning point, and it was specifically in May, if I remember correctly, in Witbank, and it was a cold evening. And I made the decision over a half a bottle of rum, probably.
To be part of someone else's dream is difficult, but Rowan, dad, husband, showed so much passion for it, and he was so single-mindedly determined to do it that you kind of got caught up in it.
Born as a childhood dream of visionary entrepreneur Rowan Foss, the Pride of Africa finally became a reality early in 1989. It took 4.5 years of careful planning and preparation before these discarded old carriages could once again return to the tracks.
We met in a railway carriage, which was converted into a bar. So for the whole hour we spent, I had to listen to this man talking about this railway carriage. Didn't know where, or what, or when. I left thinking, that's a pie in the sky.
When I started, it was just Joy. And the two of us, in fact, I employed Joy before we had a train, back in 1988.
So he got up, he went to the bar, came back with a paper serviette, and I saw him writing, and I thought, strange. And he handed me the serviette and said, right, there's a contract. Now, please, will you go in on Monday and resign and be in Witbank on the 1st of May?
She was amazing. She was promoting a train before we even had one. She went off to Germany, she went overseas, and she would go and talk about this train, and everyone thought she was nuts. But give her due. She's still with us today, and she's been absolutely amazing.
The night Rovos Rail officially launched, we had the who's who of the zoo on the train. It was the coldest night in 150 years in Pretoria. We had the mayor of Pretoria. We had the head of South African tourism. We had all the tour operators. We had press on board.
Everything all very exciting, and everybody was having quite a lot to drink, and it was good fun.
And then we got stuck. There was dew on the rails. She used so much energy to get to the top that she actually ran out of coal and water.
So we had hose pipes filling up the water tank. We had people trying to help us with sand for the sandbox. The sand is to use on the line so that the loco doesn't slip.
But everybody had a fantastic time. We took people who had to get home for babysitters, etc. We brought cars in and took them off. But the rest of us had a huge party.
So in April 89, we launched the train with 7 carriages, in fact. And from then on, we grew.
The train was renovated with meticulous care. The wagon-lit or sleepers have been refurbished in the style of the period, but with an eye for modern comfort.
The first couple of years was great fun, building and designing and developing. And even today, that's for me, the most enjoyable part of the business is going out there and solving some sort of technical and or design quandary.
If you think of the coaches that he designed, the coaches we know and love today, those coaches were designed with his family in mind. He was thinking, how can my family be comfortable? How can I be comfortable?
Hence the size of the cabins. We sort of put Dad on the floor and we drew a line and said, well, the bed needs to be this long. You know, why should it be any smaller? Why should it be cramped? And we enjoy a shower, ensuite, etc., etc. So it developed from what we found comfortable, and I suppose you could say it almost developed as a home from home, which is an ethos we've always tried to maintain, that it's not a commercial product, that the guests are not just numbers, but they're part of the family.
He will tell us how he wanted them, the rooms, the size of the rooms, the showers. In fact, he's the man who orchestrates all these things.
The screws in the bulkheads of the train, all of them are uniform. In other words, you don't find screws at diagonals or at odds with each other. It is a rule of Rovos Rail that the screws turned into the bulkheads must either be horizontal or vertical, but they must all be the same. Now that is a detail which very, very few people would ever notice. That is Rowan.
Doing things together, like climbing in, we all just go and help to finish a coach because we've got to leave the next day, or finishing coach meaning cleaning up the mess after the carpenters, and we're talking about 9 o'clock at night, and Rowan sneaking drinks in the window for us to have some drinks.
He is a hands-on boss. He will carry luggage. He will arrange someone's transfer.
Well, it happened very often, even here on the property. People sometimes mistake him for a guard or a cleaner or a fellow passenger, or just because he doesn't sit down, he doesn't relax, he doesn't know when to slow down.
We staan met 'n baie die wanneer meer tyd gehad het, die speels op die coaches en die picture frames en dit het hy alles self opgesit en dit. Maar hy's nou 'n bietjie besig, maar hy's nog steeds daar. As daar 'n probleem is, hy's gewillig om te help. Regtig waar, jy kan dit van min basis sê.
The thing is, I've seen something from my boss, his perseverance. Because I remember there was a time where we struggled to keep heads above the water. So I saw something in this man.
It is an achievement that we saw around 25 years ago, 28 years ago, things were tough.
I grew from 7 to 14 carriages, and in the process proceeded to lose all the money that I might have had at the beginning.
Even as kids, we realized something was happening. Our family home is in Cape Town, and I remember these strange people arriving over a weekend, and I found out later that it was the bank and they wanted to come and repossess the home.
And the reason that one loses all this money is that running a schedule is a very expensive business.
But as per usual, my dad made a plan and we got to keep our home.
I had come up with an idea with an agent in England to run a trip from Cape Town to Victoria Falls. And that was very successful, luckily, because I was able then to take some money on the Monday into the bank and tell them just to leave us alone so that we could continue running. And we never looked back from then. And in fact, 4 months later, with the advent of our democratic elections, early 94, I bought 38 carriages from the railways. And the rest is history. We've been building ever since.
Whether it be a romantic few days in either direction, between Pretoria and Cape Town, or Pretoria and Victoria Falls, the one consistent factor, the lodestone of travelling with Rovos Rail, is our commitment to providing world-beating, top-class service in luxury once believed confined to only history books and romantic novels.
We went on a very steep learning curve to achieve what we are achieving today from a decor and a service point of view.
I could have taken a back seat and just put my hands in the air and said, no, I don't think it was in my DNA, I just went along with it and got caught up in it. And make no mistake, It was very hard work in the beginning. It really was. We worked the train ourselves. I was the hostess, Dad was the manager, barman.
It was them, literally putting the train together, vacuuming, screwing in mirrors and cupboards, underneath the train, fixing water tanks and electrics. They weren't afraid to get dirty at all, and they're still not.
There's a woman that I respect very much, Miss Force, Anthea Force. She had to leave her kids at Cape Town to come and help us finish the coach.
Anthea has been a major contributor to Rovos Rail, unquestionably. She has brought her taste and her interest. She has been a tremendous support to Rowan.
She's had a huge role in Rovos Rail. She's been the backbone. So she might not have been in the limelight, but she's definitely been behind the scenes in every aspect.
And she's kind of just the mom to all of us, you know. She's my hero.
She's been a great counterfoil to my gung-ho, go ahead at all costs attitude. She's more conservative and probably stabilized my thinking a lot of the time. Yeah, the combination of the two of us, I think, is quite a force to be reckoned with now.
44 passengers followed the dream of Cecil John Rhodes. They travelled 6,000 kilometres from Dar es Salaam through Zambia and Zimbabwe to Cape Town. Not quite Cape to Cairo, but nevertheless a dream, until recently.
Things would happen. In 1995, Rowan fell off the train.
He was trying to take food to the locomotive drivers, and he knocked at their window. This is in darkness. Fortunately, we were still in South Africa. And as the chap opened the door of the window, he lost his balance and he fell off the locomotive. And he landed on his back and he severely injured himself, severely injured his vertebrae.
I suddenly became train manager, everything, because he was lying flat on his back in the compartment and couldn't move.
And then on the return journey, there was a derailment up ahead of our train on the single-track railway in Zambia. And we had to spend 53 hours on the border between Zambia and Tanzania.
And what was supposed to be a week on the train with Bianca and Tiffany ended up being 4 weeks. And that was quite something. And this for me was my biggest challenge, was to try and be in both places an equal amount of the time.
When we were younger, it was very difficult for Mum and Dad to spend as much time with us as they could. They had to put bread and butter on the table, so they were off chasing this dream. No holiday was an ordinary holiday. It was a great privilege because we traveled to some incredible places around Africa, but you always knew that they would be distracted, and that was a challenge. Growing up is complicated. You don't ever really appreciate at the time how lucky you are to be exposed to the experiences that we had.
The way they speak of it, they only have the best memories.
I wouldn't trade it for anything. Had the most incredible upbringing, seen so many different parts of the country and the continent. To be able to interact with guests in a way that was devoid of pretense or social standing or status was really, really fun for us. The guests really put their barriers down, and we got to know them in a way that was really genuine. And I have a lot of memories of some incredible guests that travelled on Rovos Rail with us.
The train was a lot smaller in those days, so it was a lot easier to go up and down. Nowadays, obviously, they come to my suite. But in those early days, it was a lot easier.
Yes.
And Tiffany used to love coming, and just to interact with the guests was amazing.
I think I was taught how to play chess by a Portuguese man, Mr. Tomasi. And he gave me his electronic chess set, and I thought this was the best thing ever. Knowing that Bianca shares similar experiences and has very similar memories is very special. We had Hazel Watson, the Australian, who became our pen pal. And Maria Flannery. I thought she was a Greek goddess. I walked around following her everywhere. Other memories are having my first prawn cocktail, my first Dom Pedro, which Mom and Dad didn't know about. So yes, meeting people from around the world was incredible. It did make it challenging when going back to school and trying to tell your friends that you had a
a new mate from Australia who was 60 odd years old, and you couldn't exactly invite them to your parties.
Eternally grateful for all of those experiences. And, you know, now it's allowed me to be a lot more prepared as we move forward with all of our guests today.
We've all gone up with the train, and we're so part of the train, and we've seen it develop into, from a little thing like this to a humongous, beautiful, amazing thing that is right now.
Rovos Rail has always felt like the fifth sibling, and it's always felt like the most demanding of us.
Getting involved in a family business is always a difficult decision, if anyone's been in that position before. But this is a legacy of a dream. This is not just an heirloom. And we've all come to our life lessons at different times as kids.
Hospitality is 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We don't close our doors. So it creeps into every Christmas, every New Year, every birthday, every Mother's Day, every Father's Day. It creeps into everything.
The train has devoured most of Rowan's life and, well, life after 40, let's say, and time.
I saw how time-consuming it was, how all-consuming it can be, and how the dinner table talk can always just be business, business, business. But the four of you have all slipped into your own roles within the business, and it's always been quite a natural thing.
The reward comes in where we're just the seven of us, the four siblings, Rovos Rail, and my parents are just one big, mostly happy family.
A family business is very difficult for an outsider to have the same passion for, and having the four of you involved is wonderful. And I know from Rowan's point of view, even though he never says so, he's delighted.
The novelty of having a locomotive named after you is just incredibly cool.
That's how he kind of brought the family into it, because we were all in Cape Town and he was pretty much up here by himself for weeks at a time. So the fact that there's one named after every family member and even the dog is kind of cool.
Our business demands your attention 24 hours a day, and you have to be 100% invested to nurture those needs. So not a day goes by that I don't consider what my parents have been through, the sacrifices that they've had to make their business successful, and we are all here to safeguard Rovos Rail for them for the future.
The rest of the journey was relaxingly nostalgic, doing justice to the Grand Dame, leading us with great dignity and pride.
So the backdrop of the hotel was very good for us at the time, and very convenient, being right across the station, from the station. But at the end of the day, in '99, it had got too small. The station area had got too small for us, and that's when we moved to Capital Park, which is about 5 kilometers away as the crow flies. And that was probably the best move that we ever made, was finding Capital Park. During '98 then, I had a team down there busy clearing the undergrowth away because the place was very overgrown. Also, there'd been nobody to look after the property, so railway lines had disappeared, any copper, etc., wiring in the buildings, even roofing sheets had disappeared. So it was very badly vandalized. And so we started work on it in '98, and I got a big a construction company actually in to build the station building for us and to renovate and build on to the change rooms, etc. But it was the most wonderful thing for us. It was like the sun coming up in the business actually. And in fact, it quadrupled our speed of turnaround, and it enabled us then to grow without any restriction. During the early 2000s, we were putting quite a lot of guests into various hotels in Cape Town. I looked around St. James and realized that there were only 1 or 2 guest houses there. And I thought, well, let's look at doing this. I was in Pretoria and I sent Anthea to go and attend the auction with the view to buy the tennis court. Anyway, she bought the house first because that went on sale first, and then bought the tennis court after that. And then the neighbor to Homestead offered to sell, and I bought that house as well. So we've got the 3 homes. So it sort of happened. It wasn't really a planned program of expansion at all.
My father always seemed to have a new project on the go when important things were happening in our life. He acquired the Shongololo the month I was getting married, and I'm surprised he didn't pitch it to all my guests.
The Shongololo people came to see me and said that they were in a poor position to continue the business and were going to close down. I know, and anybody else in this industry knows, that if it's not put to use, it's going to end up being cut up and in the scrapyard.
He's brave. He's not scared to take the chances when necessary.
So in the January, we started building with a vengeance, and within 5-6 months, in fact, we had turned it from being what I felt was a mess at the time. We turned it into a passable product.
Being here in Pretoria, I saw the magnitude of it, and I saw how big it had grown, and I saw the demands firsthand, and I started to appreciate what it is that my parents were wrestling with every day.
For argument's sake, you had political problems in Zim, you had the terrorist bombing in Kenya, you had a terrorist bombing in Cape Town, for argument's sake, and that just almost shut our business down. You had a volcanic ash in Iceland. We stood here with beautiful 4 trains. No one could fly here. You have ice on the tarmac in London for 3-4 days over Christmas. Nobody can come here because 90% of the aeroplanes coming from other parts of the world have to exchange in London. So here we are sitting, not fault of our own, and there's no one who can come here.
We've had fires, we've had some big events happen that could have slowed an ordinary person down and made them walk away. But because of his tenacity and perseverance, it's still going.
Unfortunately, our infrastructure, our railway infrastructure in South Africa really suffered under our previous administration. And so, like all other trains out on the tracks that are reliant on this national infrastructure, we're all brought to a standstill. We are as powerless as our guests on board. And one of the things we've done to combat that, which is something we never wanted to do, is we've purchased our own locomotives, diesel and electric.
We managed to find these locos in Australia on auction, and we bought 13 altogether, and made sure that we have the right gear ratio, which gives us the horsepower that we need.
So he's seen every challenge, and because he's such an incredible problem solver and creative thinker, he's been able to overcome every single one, and he just gets it done.
Having diesels, of course, means you can go anywhere. You don't have to worry about needing overhead electric power.
So we can now pull our train from the border, Messina, Beitbridge, to Victoria Falls and back, and operationally it's been a dream. And we can also pull our own train from Mafeking all the way to Dar es Salaam and back. And operationally, in the past 5 years, the Dar es Salaam trip has pretty much gone off without a hitch.
So I would say that by the end of next year, we'll probably have another 2 operational, take us to 11, and another 2 by the end of the next year, 2020. And then we are, to all intents and purposes, we are totally independent.
I realized quite quickly that we have to focus on what we have control over. And those are the things that are important, like service and our routes, our itineraries, our offerings, and most importantly, the training that we provide to our staff. Those are the things we can influence, so that's what we need to focus on.
If there's one hardy, perennial comment that I've heard for 26 years from the guests as they step off in Dar es Salaam station, they say, you know, the staff on this train are the best in the world.
You know, we've got a wonderful team and very experienced.
They have been the backbone. They've been loyal, they've worked hard, and they've gone along with us on this crazy dream. I mean, who runs a train?
Ons werk as 'n span saam hier van dit.
I enjoy the company, people, the collaboration. I think it's fantastic.
Rovos does become part of your family and in your blood.
It taught me many things I didn't know before.
Well, I love Rovos Rail in Karile for more than 30 years.
Rovos Rail is my home.
Jy vind jou eie weg by Rovos Rail en dit is wat dit ek dink so uniek maak. So Rowan gooi jy in die diep water in en hy kyk of jy kan swem.
I think that is one thing that we are great at as a company, is allowing people to blossom in whatever way.
I think Rovos Rail is looking well after the staff and they are teaching them a lot. Like I'm saying, the owner of this company taught me a lot.
Happy for Rovos Rail.
I can never, ever picture myself without Rovos Rail. I live, eat, sleep, breathe Rovos. It was my first love and will remain my first love for the rest of my life.
I suppose I'm very lucky that they've all been with us since they started. They stayed, you know. We've had very few people leave the company.
They believe in him, they believe in his vision, and they want to make it happen. And that is why they will go, all of them, all of us will always go the extra mile for the guest. That's in the DNA of Rovos Rail.
From the thundering expanse of the Victoria Falls and the exotic wonders of Dar es Salaam, to the gentle beauty of the Cape wine farms and the grandeur of Table Mountain. Rovos Rail is the traveller's gateway to Africa and all its delights.
We have created something really special on board.
I can't quite express to you that feeling I get when I step onto the train. It's like you just know that you're part of something special. And you created that, Mum and Dad. You created that feeling. And I think for that you should be incredibly proud.
Most days you can't hear yourself think. And they are having, you know, good, solid, intelligent conversations. It's not just a shouting match over a bottle of wine.
To be on a train where you don't have anything of this modern world, I think really helps the people to rediscover the art of conversation and making friends.
To be taken on a journey that completely switches you off from the digital age, I think is quite refreshing for our passengers.
I don't think most people realize how married we are to our machines now.
It's taking everyone back to a bygone era where cell phones are put away and iPads are put down and you can just sit and relax and forget about life outside.
You all start off as complete strangers and, you know, slowly but surely you get to meet people and you actually form the most incredible relationships.
So I'm very pleased that we've managed, without all the modern aids like radio, television, newspapers and so on, to provide this forum for people to interact, whether it's on a romantic base or whether it's just a friendship base.
When you step aboard the train, you feel incredibly proud. It is so beautiful and it sweeps you off your feet and it stirs up all those good emotions.
Yeah, you can't help but be passionate. From the top to the bottom, everybody is passionate about Rovos, whether you're Rowan Foss or whether you're a little host or hostessy on the train, everybody lives, eats, sleeps, breathes Rovos because of the magnificent product and family behind it.
And going forward, the new Tiffany's and Bianca's and Brenda's and even Anthea, I'm sure they'll just take the company and on the same vein as what Rowan's built it and, you know, put new ideas into it.
What I have found so refreshing working with my dad is he is always looking for ways to improve. He never sits still with any idea and he's always saying to me that you mustn't become complacent and you must always look ahead.
We've watched you in awe, especially the last 10 years, at what you've gotten away with, what you've pulled off, what you've achieved. It's pretty incredible, and I feel like Rovos Rail is a South African success story, and it's because of you. Your perseverance, your relentless pace, your ambition, it's pretty awesome.
It is an honor and a privilege to be next to you in your business and to work by your side. The things that I've learned from you over my life are things I'm really grateful for. But now getting to work alongside you is truly inspirational.
You've got something which has kept us going and kept us around, and it's just amazingly beautiful, and I'm so proud of you, and thumbs up to you.
And as Helen Keller said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all.
I suppose I'm an opportunist. At the same time, I relish a challenge. I do work, I think, naturally hard. I want to be busy, I like being busy. Combine that with enjoying a challenge and also being a little bit fearless, I suppose, or otherwise stubborn and stupid, one of the two. I suppose that attitude took me all the way through.
His tenacity, his loyalty, his fierceness, he just hasn't given up, and it's something to be admired. And for that, I can only thank him. You know, through his very, very hard work, we've had the most interesting and exciting 30 years. There's never a dull moment. So thank you, Rowan.
He always kept the dream alive. He never lost hope. And I think Rowan's motto is that of Winston Churchill's. Never give up. Never, ever give up.